Trying to understand Borussia Dortmund's season gives me a headache. Fresh off of eliminating PSG, they lose to a side that was in the relegation playoff spot in the Bundesliga, with virtually the same lineup that had defeated a much better Augsburg side 5-1 just a week prior. For all of the moments of concern that Dortmund have provided throughout their domestic campaign, they have been fantastic in Europe. And even when you look at their struggles in the Bundesliga, they have been inconsistent there as well. They've also earned impressive victories against sides that typically trounce them. This entire season has felt like Terzic has been one Champions League elimination away from needing to seek out another job. I mean, if it wasn't for the Champions League revamp, Borussia Dortmund currently wouldn't be qualifying for that competition next season, unless they win it, of course. But failure in Europe hasn't come to fruition, and so Terzic carries on. So how do we make sense of this season? I know there are some who will be upset to hear anything but praise for Borussia Dortmund's achievement this season. And I have a soft spot for Dortmund as well, but their season as a whole hasn't been entirely praiseworthy. So I think it's incredibly interesting to look at the two sides of the coin and how much stock we can place into the brilliance, the bad, and the luck involved in this Dortmund season. Also, please sound off with your own opinion on Terzic and Dortmund and what you attribute their successes and failures to this season. And I know what you're thinking. Adrian, what's that strange Benfica shirt, man? And that's the thing. This is a Benfica Macau shirt, not an SL Benfica shirt, and it's entered into Adrian's Closet of Curious Kits collection, thanks to our friends at Sangalo, the most unique kit shop on the net. Honestly, if you're a Benfica supporter like myself, this kit is incredibly cool to have, but they also have kits from across the globe, bringing to light sick kits from markets that typically don't get the shine and attention that they deserve. Clubs from Africa, Asia, Central America, everywhere, man. Some of my favorite kits have been from Sangalo, because they're unique and you get to support a club that you never really see. Use the link in the description to find some of the most unique kits in the world and enter code RABONATV, all one word, at checkout to get 10% off of your order. Thank you, Sangalo. With 2 matches to go in the Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund had the opportunity to push RB Leipzig right to the end in order to fight for 4th place. Edin Terzic rested many of Dortmund's warriors who had fought right to the death in order to overcome PSG at the Parc des Princes earlier in the week. They were probably tired out from that grueling match. And of course, what came after?
I will have a lot of drinks tonight.
So those who did play were those who had thrashed Augsburg 5-1 1 week prior. There were a couple of changes. Ozcan in for Watien, Schlotterbeck actually starting against Mainz ahead of Papadopoulos, Meyer in goal over Kobel, but other than that, it was relatively the same setup against relegation embattled Mainz, who are on their 3rd manager of the season. After just 23 minutes, Mainz were 3-0 up, 1 goal for every manager they've had this season. They also hit the woodwork twice in that first half, and this wasn't just one of those matches for Dortmund. They weren't suffering the after effects or a reversal of their curse that Terzic had placed upon PSG, condemning them to only hit the post or something. No, Dortmund accumulated an expected goals of just 0.36 for the entire match, most of that from the first half, as they had 1 attempt in the second half, and it was off target in spite of bringing on Sancho, Brandt, and Ian Maatsen at the half. Despite not having the ball, Mainz were dominant, carving out chances seemingly whenever they went forward against Dortmund. 3-0 the final for Mainz over Dortmund. Huge for their safety, or potential safety. In the end, I guess it doesn't really matter whether they finish, Dortmund that is, in 4th or 5th, given the Bundesliga's top 5 will all make it into the Champions League next season. So if you were to look at this from that sort of apathetic, well, what's the difference between finishing 2nd or 5th point of view, then maybe you won't care about that. But when you look at the performances themselves in these situations from Borussia Dortmund, then it is worrying. Edin Terzic himself said that against Mainz, they showed a side of them that they have shown far too often this season. This sort of negative, weak side to them. It's worrying because this is the same side that had just 1 win from the end of October until the winter break. 1 win, 4 draws, 3 losses in 8 matches. And there were major rumors that Terzic was to be let go over the break. This is a team that has just 2 wins in their previous 6 matches in the Bundesliga now, 3 of which have been losses. Right now, they are on track for their lowest point haul since the 2017-18 season, 3rd worst behind that and Klopp's disastrous final campaign with Dortmund during the 2014-15 season as far as their worst point totals of the last 10 years. But here's where this sort of two-faced Borussia Dortmund shows itself again. This is also a team that has failed to beat all of the clubs above them in the table, except one. They haven't beat Leverkusen, Leipzig, okay, understandable. Surely they defeated Stuttgart? No. The team they have defeated? Bayern Munich. The team that even within this very same season smacked them up 4-0 in their own home at the Westfalenstadion. But that was nothing surprising, right? Because Bayern have been doing that for ages now. In fact, the last time that Bayern had lost to Borussia Dortmund at the Allianz Arena in the Bundesliga was 10 years prior, during the 2013-14 season, 10 matches ago, in which Bayern had won every single match at home against Dortmund in the Bundesliga since then, outscoring them 37-8 in those 9 matches in between the Dortmund victories. For this Dortmund side, of all sides, to pull off a 2-0 defeat away to Bayern Munich is very, very surprising. These matches have almost become an auto win for the Bavarians. Granted, it must be said that this Bayern is not your average Bayern that is all-conquering. They've shown a soft underbelly many times under Tuchel this season, only winning the Bundesliga even last season due to Borussia Dortmund's fumble at the finish line. It was more Dortmund lost the Bundesliga than Bayern won it last season. But even so, considering this Dortmund has shown all of the hallmarks of the past editions when it comes to defensive lapses, inconsistency in results, and losing matches they really should never be losing, it's still surprising to see this victory over Bayern, even if it isn't the same Bayern we once knew. Just another wrinkle in this wacky season. And then it gets wackier when you look at their European campaign. Now, we'll get to their knockout round assignments later, but Borussia Dortmund were not handed an easy task in the group stage, that's for sure. In fact, they had one of the most difficult groups one could ask for, as it was pretty damn even, wasn't it? Both AC Milan and Newcastle United were not at their very best to start out this season, that's for sure, but you can't discount the danger that they provided. And the fact that Borussia Dortmund finished top of such an even group was quite impressive. Because after all, even when they weren't at their best, Newcastle still managed to kill PSG 4-1 and went unbeaten against PSG, in fact. Milan defeated PSG. Milan defeated Newcastle. It was a wild group. How did PSG get out of this group? And amongst the chaos, Borussia Dortmund finished top with 2 victories over Newcastle and 1 over AC Milan. In the next round, they had the task of taking on PSV Eindhoven. Look, you top your group, you're likely to get a more favorable draw. This was the most favorable in this particular draw. Most clubs wanted Borussia Dortmund, PSV, or Lazio, but Dortmund was a first-place team. PSV have been incredible domestically and made it out of their group in second behind Arsenal, ahead of RC Lens and Sevilla. They were a Luuk de Jong miss away from forcing extra time against Borussia Dortmund, but they fell short. Counter in the other direction, Dortmund scores. From here, however, this is where Dortmund's run gets impressive. Granted, Atletico were in some rough form themselves domestically, as in the lead up to that first victory over Borussia Dortmund at home at the Metropolitano, they had just 4 wins in their previous 12 matches. 4 wins, 2 draws, 6 losses. Really bad from Simeone and the boys. All the same, you don't play against the form sheet, right? You play against the team on the pitch, and Borussia Dortmund dealt with Atletico quite handily. They did have a Jekyll and Hyde moment in the tie, namely in the second half of the second leg, when Hummel scored that weird own goal, and then Atleti scored another, but they rallied. In a 2-minute stretch, they put themselves back ahead in the tie. Great performance from them. Beyond the lapse in the second half, they were well drilled defensively once again and economical in the attack. Belief was growing in the players and the stadium. I mean, the atmosphere in that second leg versus Atletico was unbelievable. They carried that into their matches against PSG, and luck aside when it comes to the posts, because as I said previously, I believe that you can create your own luck, or at least some of it. Borussia Dortmund tactically had PSG's number across the whole tie, really. How many times did we see Mbappe truly cause problems around the goal for a prolonged stretch of time? He was shut down by them. Anything through the middle was shut down by Dortmund, forcing them to the flanks, where they were either misfiring or unable to break through the double-up defending and sometimes triple-up trouble with the central midfielders getting involved to shut down any attacks down the flanks. Other than that, they threw themselves in front of every strike. Now, PSG have their own blood on their hands as well, because as you can see, this is the XG across the 2 legs, and they didn't score a single goal. Of the 6 times that PSG hit the woodwork, Kobel had a hand in redirecting the ball onto the post or crossbar at least twice in that second leg. So they did indeed help themselves at times and really created their own luck in that way. But with how things have gone down with PSG lately, as facts change, opinions change. And the fact is that this PSG side, while looking decent at times in certain positions, is not looking very good at all to close out the season. They had great patches this season, which made them look convincing, mostly in that middle third of the season. But the beginning with their poor Champions League group stage and how they are now closing it out is not great. A 3-1 loss to Toulouse at home. Not to mention, this could be one of their lowest point totals in some time. But since Liga switched from 20 teams to 18, point total is hard to judge them on. So let's look at points per game. And it is on the lower end in the Qatari ownership era of PSG's history. At first I was thinking, okay, let him cook. Maybe Enrique's tinkering because he knows Mbappe will be gone next season. Now I just think my analysis of that was wrong. I don't know, man. I'm having a tough time reading PSG now. But anyway, this Borussia Dortmund team never suffered from needing any kind of motivation in their European campaign. They were always up for it, suffering just 2 losses. The very first match away to PSG when Terzic tested out a back 5, and then of course that match at the Metropolitano. Other than that, they were focused and motivated, 2 things that they have seemingly lacked this campaign domestically. It became abundantly clear as the season went on that Edin Terzic's job security would come down to their European performance because, as we went over, Dortmund's domestic performance has been pretty terrible, at least by their standards. One of their worst Bundesliga performances in the last 10 to 15 years when you look at their point total. Borussia Dortmund is the lowest ranked Champions League finalist since Chelsea in the 2011-12 season, when they won the competition despite finishing in 6th place in the Premier League. Liverpool also won the competition despite finishing in 5th back in 2005. So Dortmund to win it all, right? Well, that's for a different video. So how has Terzic done this? In my opinion, he's always struck me as a manager that is very much emotional. He can rally the troops for an important match when their backs are against the wall, when his job is on the line, when Dortmund need to improve their place in the standings, when he had to come in for that half season and lift them again prior to Marco Rose taking over. He did well there. He can lift the team. He can rally them. He can pull on their heartstrings, that I love Dortmund heartstring. He can tap into what it means to fight for Borussia Dortmund given his past as a boyhood supporter of the club. But domestically, from the day-to-day in the Bundesliga, he struggles to motivate them in general. The rallying war cry doesn't work as well for Heidenheim away and Mainz away or something like that. The teams they have dropped points against are the aforementioned Heidenheim, Bochum, Eintracht Frankfurt, Bayern, Stuttgart, Leipzig, Leverkusen, Augsburg, Mainz, and Hoffenheim. He's shown inadequacies when taking on superior sides while losing focus on a few occasions against sides that they should be beating. But on top of that, here's the big one. He has struggled when it comes to creating a clear and effective approach with Borussia Dortmund's attack. They're on track to score nearly 20 goals fewer than last season, huge regression, and the season prior, 15 fewer than the 2021 season, about 20 fewer than 1920 season, and on it goes, as you can see here. The sheer drop, while maintaining a decent defensive record, has been their biggest issue. Thankfully for Dortmund, however, a strong defense can take you pretty far in a tournament. The teams that score a lot aren't going to go very far if they can't keep the ball out of their goal. That's been Dortmund's strongest asset thus far, their defense. Hummels and Schlotterbeck, with some decent cover from midfield ahead of them, has been effective, while Gregor Kobel has been heroic in the Champions League. That spine, that base, has been superb for them. So I think that Terzic has the potential to be a good manager, but he was hoisted into the job a bit too early. Again, his love and passion for the club will no doubt help him to motivate players in big matches when they are seen as underdogs. But when it came to them keeping their heads last season with a trophy in their hands, they failed. When it comes to developing his own approach as a tactician in the attack, he has a ways to go there as well, without messing up the balance of the team. With Dortmund saying that he will stay on for next season, he will at least be given, another 6 months to improve the domestic performances, improve their attack, without sacrificing their defense. You'll note that they said he would continue, but haven't offered an extension because of the European run. Anything less than improvement domestically, and Dortmund will have a repeat of this season, likely without the highlight of a European run. Thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, then do subscribe for more from me here at Raboni TV. Other than that, I appreciate you spending your valuable time, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.